This man is identified by the FBI as a high-ranking soldier in the New York Gambino Mafia family. His name is Sal the Swindler Pisello, recently sentenced to 4 years in prison. He evaded taxes on nearly $400,000 income earned in business deals with MCA Records. Pacello is headed for prison. But sources close to this case are still asking, what about this mafia soldier's relationship with MCA? A relationship that sparked a 2-year investigation by the Justice Department's Organized Crime Strike Force here in Los Angeles. Former MCA executive Al Bergamo told Action News, Pacello knew nothing about the record business. I couldn't understand why he was there. Yet Pacello operated out of MCA headquarters here in Universal City for nearly 2 years. This internal MCA audit obtained by Channel 2 shows some MCA monies were paid to Consultants for World Records, Inc., a company owned by Pacello, and his partners Rocco the Butcher Musacchia and Federico Fritzi Giovanelli, both reputed high-level members of the Genovese mob family. MCA, through its attorneys, has claimed that it was fooled, duped by Pacello, that it knew nothing of Pacello's organized crime ties. Duped or not, this article, to be published next week in a Washington business magazine called Regardes, says there was a hell of a fight over Pacello at an MCA Board of Directors meeting in May of 1985. Writer Dan Moldea, the author of a book entitled Dark Victory, reports, and Channel 2 confirms, that an argument broke out in an MCA board meeting. On one side, board member Howard Baker, now President Reagan's chief of staff, and New York investment banker Felix Rohatyn. Both argued MCA should rid itself of Pacello, demand MCA executives tell federal investigators what they know about the Pacello deals, and fire any executive who wouldn't cooperate with federal prosecutors. On the other side, MCA board chairman Lou Wasserman and company president Sidney Sheinberg defended MCA's actions. And Action News has learned federal prosecutors issued subpoenas to 6 MCA executives to testify before a grand jury, including Entertainment Group President Irving Azoff, MCA Records President Myron Roth, and Vice Presidents Dan McGill, Zach Horowitz, John Burns, and Dan Westbrook. All of the executives, with the exception of Irving Azoff, wrote letters to the Justice Department refusing to cooperate in the Pacello case, exercising their Fifth Amendment rights unless they were granted immunity. And when federal prosecutor Marvin Rudnick in court on the Pacello case revealed 2 of those executives took the Fifth Amendment, MCA became indignant. They formally complained to the U.S. Attorney's Office accusing Rudnick of misconduct. Then, Los Angeles Strike Force Chief John Newcomer, as first reported on Channel 2, answered MCA with a letter that said, neither MCA nor any of its executives are targets of that case, the Pacello case, and its attendant investigation. Attorney Will Dwyer, who represents 3 former MCA executives suing the company, was incensed.
I'm dumbfounded. Here's a major crime buster, great reputation, Marvin Rudnick, prosecutor here with the Strike Force, takes the testimony with his agents, with his investigators, of 3 former executives of MCA, my clients, testimony that in my estimation professionally would support probable cause, that there's likely to be some wrongdoing, something further should be looked into. And then Rudnick's boss writes to MCA's leading lawyer and says, well, your client's clean. MCA is not a target of the investigation. If anything may be wrong, it's Rudnick run amok. Now somebody's got to get to the bottom of that.
Action News has learned Prosecutor Rudnick was called back to Washington for a conference with Justice Department superiors. Organized Crime Strike Force Chief David Margolis and Deputy Chief Michael DeFeo, according to the Regardes article, told Rudnick to eliminate MCA from the investigation, not to call certain MCA executives as witnesses, not to determine the relationship between MCA and Pacello, and in general, don't cause MCA any embarrassment. Neither Rudnick nor the Justice Department will comment on the matter, nor will U.S. Attorney in Los Angeles Robert Bonner, nor Strike Force Chief John Newcomer, who also refused to answer questions about Rudnick at a recent news conference.
Well, it's not relevant to the purposes of this meeting. It is not relevant to the purpose of the meeting.
Was he disciplined in any way?
Look, no comment.
I think we had a no comment to that. Next question.
Meanwhile, Action News has learned that prosecutor Rudnick has been taken off 2 other major cases that he was working. And among sources close to the investigation, these questions persist. Is prosecutor Rudnick being punished for trying to move forward on an investigation that raised questions about MCA's involvement with a known mafioso? If so, why? People close to the investigation ask, isn't the business MCA did with a mobster exactly the kind of thing the federal strike force is supposed to follow up on? Meanwhile, an attorney who represents MCA, contacted by Channel 2, says it is off base that Channel 2 continue to characterize this as an MCA probe, when it is in fact a prosecution of Sal Pisello. This is Ed Sciandra, an underboss in the Bufalino Mafia family of Pennsylvania. In 1981, he was convicted of tax evasion in connection with a kickback scheme involving film lab work contracted to MCA Universal. In this government sentencing memorandum, prosecutors said of Sciandra, although he was neither an employee nor authorized agent for Universal, Sciandra was able, because of his organized crime connections, to dictate to which companies Universal sent its film processing and film editing work. This man, Giaquinto, was the head of the MCA Universal non-theatrical film division at the time. However, government prosecutors at the time said no MCA people were involved in criminal wrongdoing. MCA said they did not find any evidence of employee misconduct. But in the same case, Mafia underboss Sciandra also got kickbacks from Northstar Graphics Company. According to these New Jersey state records, Northstar is run by Michael Delgazzo. In this Pennsylvania Crime Commission report, Delgazzo is named as an associate of the Bufalino Mafia family and a close friend of mob underboss Ed Sciandra. Action News has learned people here at MCA are still doing business with mob-connected Northstar. Northstar has a deal with MCA's home video division to print millions of boxes for MCA home videotapes. A multi-million-dollar contract. And there's more. Sources tell Channel 2 MCA has paid Northstar an inflated price to do the work. One former MCA executive tells Action News, I was embarrassed to sign the bills. Another former MCA executive tells Channel 2, MCA could negotiate a great rate because of the volume they do. But they don't. A number of high-level executives in the video box printing business tell Action News, I have tried to get MCA home video business, but never got any. Another, Northstar seems to have the account locked up. We are always told, says another, it's closed at MCA home video. Giaquinto is the man who runs MCA home video today. He also ran the film division when mobster Ed Sciandra used MCA Universal business in his kickback scheme 8 years ago. So as early as 1979, MCA was doing business with Northstar Graphics, a mob-connected company. As early as 1981, it was public record Northstar was a mob-connected firm. But Giaquinto and MCA are still doing business with Northstar. Meanwhile, sources tell Action News the FBI in recent weeks has been asking questions about Northstar and its relationship with MCA. This is not the first instance in which MCA has had dealings with mob-connected figures. Gambino Mafia soldier Sal Pisello was recently convicted for not reporting income he received from MCA. MCA claims they never knew Pacello was in the Mafia. Now, another question persists. Why is MCA doing business with a small Mafia-associated company in New Jersey? Neither MCA nor Mr. Giaquinto had any comment on today's story. Giaquinto is a top-level executive at MCA Universal, where he has worked for nearly 30 years. As president of the home video division, Giaquinto oversees the sale of millions of MCA movies to the home video market, including the blockbuster film E.T. And according to this FBI affidavit obtained by Channel 2, Giaquinto has used his position to funnel a large amount of money on a yearly basis to East Coast Mafia figure Ed Sciandra, the reputed underboss of the Bufalino crime family. Sciandra, according to the FBI, is Giaquinto's uncle. As first reported on Action News last June, the FBI confirms the money to Sciandra flowed through Northstar Graphics, a reputed organized crime company in New Jersey, headed up by Michael Delgazzo, who the Pennsylvania Crime Commission identifies as a close friend of Ed Sciandra. Also, according to the FBI wiretap information, there is reason to believe Giaquinto is involved in extortion to solidify his position at MCA, stock fraud by providing insider information about MCA, wire fraud, and the sale and possession of narcotics. Mob associate Angelo Comito in the FBI wiretaps refers to Giaquinto as our guy at MCA. In July of 1987, the FBI says Giaquinto, Sciandra, and Marty Backow met at this upscale Beverly Hills restaurant. Backow is described as the backdoor liaison Teamster connection to the movie industry. They talked about what appears to be a mafia struggle for power and control here at MCA. At one point, Giaquinto says, Genovese mafia people are all over the place. Giaquinto wonders if his forces could get MCA President Sid Sheinberg out of the company, and said MCA Entertainment President Irving Azoff is out, that the government had him. There is talk of warfare, and Giaquinto boasts that he had carte blanche with Gambino Mafia boss John Gotti, who many describe as the most powerful mob figure in the United States. Giaquinto says he has known Gotti all his life. The FBI also believes Giaquinto is being furnished confidential law enforcement information from Washington, and there are references to retired LAPD organized crime intelligence expert John St. John as a friend. St. John retired shortly after his name came up in an investigation of information leaks to Giaquinto. Meanwhile, MCA attorneys say the company had no knowledge of Gene Giaquinto's alleged ties to the mafia, and emphasize that MCA itself, and these are their words, has been advised repeatedly that it is not a target or a subject of this federal investigation. In San Francisco, Chris Blatchford, Channel 2 Action News.